Hey friends, welcome to the Creator in Progress podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Lim. Join me on an exciting journey as I break free from the 9-to-5 grind to become a full-time content creator. Each episode will bring you inspiring stories and practical advice from both successful and budding creators and entrepreneurs on how they got to where they are today.
I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to take the easy way out. I want to do it proper.
My first guest is Chubbs. She runs a barber studio called Telja Studios.
The word Telja came from the word belief. And so that was the vision I had for the company.
Beyond the craft of barbering, I was curious to know more about Chubbs' story and why she started Telja, the inspiration behind starting it, and how she has continued to run it as a solopreneur.
It's your own business, so you cannot separate the work from self because the business in itself is the art form. And then when the art form is not good, who made that? You are the artist.
I took a lot away from the conversation and was very heartened by Chubbs' principles, values, and authenticity. Most of all, I admire and am inspired by her grit to continue to run Telja the way she envisions it. Enjoy the conversation. This episode is co-produced by SCAPE. Yeah, we start. Okay, Chubbs, we're finally doing this.
Finally, after 4 years of talking about it.
Is it?
We'll talk about content creating before you started. And here you are, your own show.
Yeah, I guess. Wow. Never thought of it that way. Kind of is, I guess. Yeah.
It is. You started your own show.
Thank you for joining. It's like you're like the inaugural.
Am I?
Yes. Yeah.
How many guests have you had on so far?
I had a few, but I always messed it up. That's why before this, obviously I was fiddling with a lot of things, right? Because there was one time I think I filmed and then I cut my own head off. Then there were audio problems. So I think everything is going well now. We have done the checks together. So it should work for sure.
No rookie mistakes this time.
I hope so.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm very excited to have you here on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
No worries.
Very excited to learn more about your story, about Telja. And like, I think I always hear about it when I'm sitting on the barber chair and like getting my hair cut. But I think it's just nice to like have this conversation here.
Proper, official, in case we miss any important details.
Correct. Yeah. Every time you're like, I got hair in my in my palm. Then I'm like, oh no, ouch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think every time I go for a haircut, I always feel like it's like such a nice catch up. It's like a monthly catch up with a friend.
It is.
That sort of thing.
I meet a lot of you a lot more than I meet a lot of my friends. So it's client turned friends, which is essentially what you have been, right?
Yeah,
client turned friends.
Yeah. 6 years. 6 years?
6 years.
When did you?
I started in 2016, I believe. It's 2023 now, so
7 years.
plus minus, 2023.
Oh,
I started late 2016, I think. So I think 2016 don't really count. So
okay. So
they're about lah.
6 years lah.
6 years.
Say.
Yeah.
Yes.
I broke the 5-year mark, and you guys broke the 5-year mark with me. You know what they say, right? You pass that 5 year, you should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a business, right? You know, most businesses don't make it past the 5 years. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks to all your loyal support.
Of course. I always say, right, only 3 people can touch my hair. You, my partner, and me. That's it. Chewy sleeps on the bed and she just touches it all the time, but not counted.
She's a person. She's not a person, so she doesn't count. Like 3 people.
Yes.
3 people.
Only 3. No one else.
Yeah.
Ever. But yeah, I think it's just very nice and very nostalgic. And I feel like I've seen you grow also as like a barber and like even a person and like an entrepreneur, right? So I think it's just very nice to go through that journey.
Yeah.
Like with you lah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just to start off the podcast, right? I feel it's always important to know like you know how you become who you are today, right? And I feel like our past always it's very important to understand our backstory. And so I just want to know a little bit more about like, you know, can you maybe share with me some of like your pivotal moments when in your younger days, and how do you feel that has actually shaped you as a person, and you know, how has it driven you to do what you're doing today?
So we're not going straight into the story yet. So it's a bit of like, how did we even get started?
Context. Yes.
Context. Okay. Well, I think when I was 21, I I questioned a lot, what I should be doing with my life. And unlike many people who have, gone through the route of uni, and then, it almost seemed like everyone knew what they wanted to do, and I wasn't that person. And I think even backtracking, even more in my younger days, I think when people, in school, they ask you typical questions, like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always never knew, and everyone else looks certain, or so I think they look certain. And so I think because I felt like I didn't know, I had to question even harder. And I think that worked out for me, because although at 21 I started questioning, I didn't have immediate answers as to what I wanted to do. I had a very strong conviction that regardless of what I did, whether I ran my own business or if I worked for someone else, that process had to mold me into a person that I was going to be proud of in my latter years. So my 50s, 60s, So I questioned a lot about what success really meant to me. Is it really financial freedom, which is what I was pursuing? I actually went to get my real estate agent license when I was 21.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because, back then, or maybe even now, the notion of financial freedom was a big thing. People were selling that, like be financially free by 30. And I was like, yeah, I want to be that. I'm the only child. I should, I can provide for myself and my family. And I went in that direction. Actually, that's why I took up the course. I got it. But I was dormant in the industry. Because the reality was, when I went into it, I saw how much hustle you need to. Is that the word that they use these days? It's just the hustle life.
The grind.
The grind. And I was 21. I'm dealing with multi-million. I could potentially be dealing with multi-million dollars. I didn't know how to factor that kind of amount, And so I thread that very cautiously. But I still had a one-track mind to be financially free by 30. Then I had two things, right? I was sort of sure I wanted to be financially free, but I also wanted to be proud of the person that I became. And that was two conflicting things. To be financially free by 30, it meant you had to make a lot of sacrifices that a lot of my peers were not going to do. To give up the time with your family, you got to do viewings at unearthly hours. You basically have to be almost sometimes a slave mindset to your clients, right?
Yeah.
So mind you, that's like maybe 10 odd years ago. And when I thought about that, I became unwilling to sacrifice that kind of time. I thought about how I would miss moments with my family. You think about your grandparents, how you cannot take those years for granted. And you miss it, that's it, So as I started to question that, I figured that maybe financially free was not the goal. And that while it mattered, it didn't weigh as much as, the other things that I cared for. And so I think I explored options. And barbering was not part of the plan. It happened out of curiosity.
Wow.
Because in that process of questioning what I should do, I gave myself a 6-month sabbatical, or what you call it, gap year. But by the end of that 6 month, I actually still didn't know what I wanted to do. Going to uni was not an option. Working for someone was also not an option, because I was very clear that I wanted a mentor, and that it was gonna be hard to find someone like that. No one's gonna sow into your life intentionally. It was hard to find that. So if those two were not options for me, then I'm left with being a missionary, I say. Go and impact the world. But I'm like, how? I'm the only child. I still have to, I still need to be responsible, right? When you think about purposeful stuff, and I thought about being a missionary, and I go like, maybe not now. let's be practical about it first. So because I looked like I was bumming around, I went to pick up a skill. That was barbering. And when I picked it up, I realized that I really enjoyed it. Not just for the fact that I get to groom someone, but it's the process of conversing with someone, which is still till this day what brings me the most satisfaction. One is to give someone a a very neat and tidy look, something that they can feel very proud of looking in the mirror. But more importantly, I think the satisfaction of a good relationship. And I think that's essentially what it is. Sometimes I don't even think my job is the haircut. My job is the conversation. My job is the easing my client well enough into the chair and that they are happy with it when they walk out. And so to me, my KPI is not so much just a sale. It's the fact that they walk out feeling good. And I'm sure a lot of people they don't feel good walking out, and they never come back. And so the fact that they can walk out feeling good, it's quite a good chance that they will walk back in. So it's as a result. But yeah, that's kind of a bit of a backstory how I made my decisions. Just questioning important questions.
I think it's so interesting that you started questioning this thing at 21.
21.
Yeah. I started questioning when I was 28, 29.
Never too late, friend. Never too late.
Bloomer.
Never too late.
Yeah, but I find it very interesting that you already knew at such a young age. This is you're quite clear, right, on what you wanted and what you didn't quite want.
Honestly, I still am not very clear what I want now. But yeah, the gist of it, yes. I knew maybe what I didn't want. I may not be particularly clear about what I wanted. But I think when you can know what you don't want, you just don't go in that direction and gradually you'll be headed in the right direction.
Yeah. As you try more things, you know what you dislike and what gives you energy and what drains you also, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's still a process now, actually. I feel like I make mistakes all the time. I make decisions that I'm not proud of. But then I think that is also part of the process. It is important to recognize that it is a journey, I used to be so hard on myself, and I probably still am. But it's catching yourself in that moment to be forgiving, we can be forgiving towards our friends and everyone around us, right? And then we become our own worst critics. And so I think it's that lah. And I think catching yourself in that and acknowledging that you've made a mistake is so liberating. Because more often than not, we cannot accept that we've made a mistake, or we fester with that thought, and then all the more we don't move forward. So I think that is very liberating. That truth of being able to acknowledge that we do make mistakes is very liberating.
Yeah. I think I recently did like a video, some update video, but someone was telling me about like this trial and error mindset. Yeah, so like your whole life is just trial and error. Like just go and try things. It's okay if you make mistakes, right? But we learn from our mistakes anyway.
Yeah.
And then just figure it out along the way. And I also found that quite liberating, because like I can resonate with what you say in terms of like us being very hard on ourselves, especially if we're doing our own thing. And it's like we have no one else to blame but ourselves, that kind of thing, correct. Right? So of course you're going to be very hard on yourself, and you need to make sure it's working and all those sort of things, especially if it's your own business.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's the thing. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's your own business. So you cannot separate the work from self, because the business in itself is the art form.
Correct.
And then when the art form is not good, who made that? You are the artist. And so who have you got to blame, right? So it's very hard to I'm still navigating that. I cannot say that I've gotten it all, but I think the key for me is not to fester in the negative thought that I have. It's okay to have them, but don't remain there for too long.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and just keep moving on.
But I also like it at the same time, I think, because then I have no one to blame. It's like, it's just, I feel like, okay, I'm responsible, that sort of thing. So I feel like often in big companies, right, it's like you always blame this person doesn't get that done, that sort of thing. Now it's just, no, it's me. And I feel like I take ownership of that. So I don't know. It's I actually kind of like it also. I mean, I think the next thing I really wanted to ask is what really and I don't know, we touched upon this also just now, right? Like really what inspired you to take the leap to start Telja? Like, and also how do you feel, I think you also touched upon this lah, like how is Telja very different from other barber shops, right? I feel like I have an answer here, but I would love
tell
to
me
hear
if it
from
matches.
your perspective.
So the question is how did I take that leap and how we're different?
What inspired you to take the leap to start
To
Telja?
start.
Because I know you picked up barbering as a skill, right? But why suddenly like, okay, I think let me make this in like a barbering service
Okay.
or a company. And I always feel like Telja is quite different. Obviously, I last time went to do my research to see where should I cut, that sort of thing, right? And then somehow got referred to you. Was it through Instagram or something? Through like a friend or referral, and then I came to.
I
where was
still
it?
remember when
it
you
was,
first came
Oh
in.
my gosh, it was in that.
You
on
were
that-
skeptical. You're like, am I in the right place? Remember we had this little glass
I
panel?
wish I took photos or
Yeah.
like videos.
Yeah.
But it was a very nice, cozy place. I liked it. I liked the vibe.
Cozy is a nice word to describe it. It was really small.
Yeah, I remember you like turned the chair and then like, okay,
know.
that's where you wash your hair, that kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
really liked it. Like, most importantly, I think you made me feel very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas for me as a girl, maybe if I go into like barber shops, right, it's all men. It's very like,
Intimidating.
yeah, it's so weird. I feel like I should be saying this about a gym, but I'm saying it about a barber store.
Well.
But yeah, it felt that way for me also. But also when I went to those like normal hairdressers, right, I didn't quite get the experience I liked also. So with you, I was like, wow, this is like amazing, man.
Yeah.
It was the first time I just enjoyed the experience so much. But that was just my
Your
I think
perspective.
really my perspective of why I just kept coming back to you also. And like, I feel like you know my hair inside out also.
I do.
Right?
I know what makes you tick also. Like,
Yes.
don't go too short.
1.75.
That's a tough. The truth is, I don't really know what 1.75 is. I try. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me how did this whole idea of Telja like start?
Came about. Okay, I mean, first of all, Telja is actually an Icelandic word for belief. That's that. We won't go too much into that. But I took the leap to start my own business because I always knew I wanted to run my own business. I didn't know the expression of it, and I certainly did not know that I was going to run a barbershop. And I finally took that leap because actually that leap was hard to take. It was hard to take because I couldn't see where I was going, and I didn't quite believe in myself, ironically. In essence, when I knew I really wanted to run my own business, it was something that I feel I wanted to do to prove to myself that it could be done. And what was it that I was trying to prove to myself was that business can be done ethically and still be successful. And I think I was not, well, let's be real. I think we've all been in situations, or, I've worked for companies before. I'm not saying that, every company is unethical, but sometimes we do cut corners, right? We receive instructions to do this, and it's very gray, but doesn't necessarily make it right. And so I think I really just wanted that autonomy to make my own decisions. And you talk about ethics and morality, it's very subjective, right? So yeah, if anything, I think that was what I wanted to prove to myself, that you could do business in a way that I find to be ethical and still be able to succeed. I was not into the fact that I was gonna help someone build a company or build my own company on the basis that this is a controversial word to use, but I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to take the easy way out.
Yeah.
I want to do it proper. And if I could do it proper and still be something, then good for me, you know?
Yeah.
And so what is this something? I don't aim to be financially free, although that would be nice, because I think if that was always the goal, then surely I would try to cut corners. So again, keeping in mind what I had mentioned earlier, it's that I still wanted to be proud of the person that I am at the end of the day. And so taking that leap was that. And I think till this very day, I keep reminding myself, because while I had that in mind, you could get, easily swayed along the way, because you look at how people do it and like, yeah, what's wrong? Everyone's doing it. Doesn't make it any more right, but everyone's doing it, And I've had moments like that, I think. Yeah. And I think because that is the very foundation of who I am, I have it translated into the business, because right now I'm the only one running it. It permeates in everything that we do, the service, the way we communicate. And I think that is probably what makes us different. And people can feel that you care.
Yes.
They know it's genuine and it's consistent. Sure, you can bluff one time, two times. They can be skeptical and cynical, but when they really experience it, you cannot deny that feeling lah. Yeah. So I think that's something I feel, whether you want to, it's probably not the most, it's intentional, but it's not very intentional. Does that make sense? Like we do it because it's just who we are.
Yeah.
And whatever the output and the fruit of it, we let it bear fruit on its own lah. We just do the job of sowing and watering, and then let it bloom to whatever. Yeah.
That what's the, like if it's kind of like if it's yours, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
so-
just we do what we can to make
Yeah.
it bloom, I
Yeah.
guess.
So I guess really in essence, just trusting the process. I do what I can. Some days it's not what I really want, but it's part of the process. Yeah. So, and I think our clients appreciate that. They appreciate that they are part of the journey, and I think we take conscious effort to appreciate them. That, and I think it's how it is in this world. We don't exist on our own. We need each other. And so I can only be as successful, the business can do just as well as my clients are doing well, you know. So we take conscious effort to encourage people as well, you know, like just, I mean, in essence, you know, so the word Telja came from the word belief. And so that was the vision I had for the company. It was to be able to believe in someone when they cannot believe in themselves. And that was how I started. I couldn't see how I was going to run a business on my own. And my friends at that point came in and they asked me how I was doing. Has it started? And I was like, yeah, no, I don't even know what to call my company, how to start. Cannot even register. And they started pouring in a lot of encouragement. And mind you, these people didn't know each other, and just very timely. And yeah, and then I think in that moment it clicked. I'm like, man, I didn't realize I couldn't do this. And what did these people see in me at that point that I couldn't see in myself? And I was like, this is exactly it. So it was like an epiphany. And I go like, that's exactly what I'm going to call my company, because that's what I foresaw myself doing with the people that I met. It was uplifting. It was genuine. And it was dignifying, you know. A haircut is a dignifying experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess empowering people to believe in themselves, I
Yeah.
think. And I agree, like a haircut does that for
Yeah,
people.
that, you know, whether it's the things I say or not, but it could be different expressions. It could be just the haircut. I don't have to talk. But the fact that you can look in the mirror and go like, yeah, that's the person I want to identify with, you know? And then that confidence just starts to grow gradually. Yeah, then my job is done. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like, if you don't talk, it's still a different experience. Like I just enjoy like going to like have the haircut, but also like just hang out lah, you
Yeah.
know. And I really truly like that. And without that, I'll be like, okay lah. It's just different.
Yeah.
But,
Good.
okay. So I think you mentioned also like you started out as like a solopreneur,
Is that what they call
right?
it?
Yes, a solo entrepreneur. So, and of course, over the years, like I did kind of ask you about it. Like, what do you think are some of the challenges you face? You know, I think starting the company as a solo barber, how did you kind of overcome these problems? And I guess what are your struggles? Because of course there are times like as a one-man show, I can also identify how tough it is to do everything plus the craft, right? Can be so exhausting at times also.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
Oh, I wonder too. I ask myself every day, how am I managing? Am I okay? Well, truth be told, I think running this solo means you do not have added resource that, you know, a team could have. And if you want a team, you've got to hire. And if you want to hire, it means more money. And so I think we didn't have the luxury of doing that. We had to operate in a very lean manner just to keep things going. The challenge is to be disciplined even when you don't see the results. And so that's one bit, right? But when you don't see the results, meaning you would start to compare people who are starting out the same time as you, starting to hire more people, starting to grow 1 branch, 2 branches, 3 branches, and then here you are operating solo still. And there were times I felt very impatient where I started to determine my progress based on other people's progress, and it looked like I was lagging behind. Even people who opened after me, you know, they were hiring so quickly, and I was like, what's wrong with me? You know, why am I not doing what they were doing? Then it hit me that it's not what they're not trying to do what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do what they are trying to do. The way we execute our service is not like it's not a factory. You know, we don't operate like that. I'm not saying everyone else does that, but it's just not who we are. You know, we value certain things, and if we operate a certain way and we compromise the quality, then it doesn't make us who we are. And so I think that's the difficulty, not to compare. And when I say the discipline to just having that discipline to go like, hey, what's the vision? Reminding yourself, and to make the main thing the main thing. I think that's always the hardest, because you can have this grand vision and a very nice ethos, but when you don't execute it, then that vision has no weight to it. The company's value have no weight to it, you know? Yeah. So I think that's the difficulty, when you don't have someone to bounce it off, someone to keep you in check. Yeah. I'm human lah, boss or not, I am still human. I think it's hard. So I think it's I've learned how to navigate that. You know, finding a healthy circle of friends who understands what you're trying to do, and then can help you identify certain blind spots. They don't have to be business partners necessarily, and I don't really have the luxury of that. That's another topic on its own. You know, it's hard to find the right business partner, you know, who believes in what you want. And I think that's something that I am not willing to compromise as well, you know, just for the sake of added resource or... So yeah, we're just careful to navigate that space. Yeah. I remember this one time where I just started, actually in the first year, because I had such lean financial resource that I was living, we would call it paycheck to paycheck. I don't even have a paycheck,
frugally,
you know, like
frugally.
I'm like, yeah, frugally, and I remember one Sunday afternoon when all my friends, you know, the usual, after church we're gonna go for lunch, and then I actually packed my own lunch, because I was down to that point where every client that I charged, it had to go to rent. And I didn't actually have enough to take back. You know, my take back is for next month's rent. And that was what my financial status was. I had nothing. And it really hit me when my friend asked, "You want to go for lunch?" And I was like, wow, I can't even afford to go for lunch for that $2 or $3. Like, think about it, it's only $2 or $3. But that meant so much to me, because that could roll into next month's rent. And I think it's a very humbling moment. I think I can still remember, not the pain of it, not pain in the sense of like, oh, it's so awful, but it's like, I believe in something so much that it's okay. You know, I know it's part of the process. Correct. But it was actually, to some degree, I had to be mindful not to make it a very humiliating moment for myself, you know, to go like, I cannot actually tell you that I cannot even afford that $3 now, because I know the next thing they'll say, let me buy you that lunch. Like, I don't need that. Yeah. I don't even see myself to be in that space. It's okay. I don't have to eat out. Yeah. So I think in those moments, it made me realize how much I wanted this, and that it was worth my while. Yeah, I think that was tough. That was tough because it was a humble pie that I had to eat. Yeah. It was not tasty. It's tasty now. I eat better now.
But I think it's amazing that you have that. Like, I think you already knew at that point in time, this is what I want. And like, I think all of us have that moment where we're like, okay, this is really what I want. This is what I'm going to commit to do. And like what, you know, I'll sacrifice to do. And yeah, I think that even like now as I'm going through this, right, like I feel it's like switching up your set of worries, because now I'm like, I am so much, like I'm in such a better like mind space now in terms of like,
Yeah.
am I happy? Yeah, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I have the freedom to do whatever I want. I'm doing the thing, like I'm still working, but a different kind of work,
Yeah.
right? And I enjoy what I'm doing every day. But what I am worried about is, of course, my finances, right? Like, how am I going to continue paying for this house, right? Is it going to come up to a point where my savings are depleted that, you know, how am I going to feed this dog? You know, that sort of thing. But would I switch that up again to, like, instead, like, go for a corporate job and, like, dread it every single day? Like, I don't mind having this set of worries. I rather worry about my finances day to day. It's not like I'm not earning. I'm still getting like paychecks here and there, doing freelance stuff,
Yeah.
right? But I'd rather do this than go back to a place where I feel like I was a little bit depressed last year also, because I was just in such a bad space. Same thing, I didn't believe in that whole, like, I don't want to be working for someone. I want to go out and make my own impact in the way that I can, which is through YouTube videos and stuff like that, and even through like conversations like this lah.
Look at you now.
Yeah, it's good. Like, it's like getting there.
Yeah.
It's like baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's really the journey, and it's interesting to kind of see that change lah. Yeah, but wow.
Yeah.
I think it's so. I really admire like the grit you had to be able to go through that, and even though you don't have anyone around you knowing what you're going to, and not having a circle of friends, but it's tough when you don't have. I don't know how the barber community is like also in Singapore, and if that was if
Are
it
they
was
close-knit?
hard. Yeah, are they? Is it tough to break
I don't know.
into
That's the
it?
thing, because I'm not part of it. I don't. Not that they're not inclusive. It's more like I didn't have the time for it, perhaps, and it just didn't line up. I believe that if some things were meant to line up, somehow our paths would have crossed. Well, on my part, I didn't make intentional effort, so that I have myself to blame lah. But yeah, but I had thought about it. Would it have been better if we had a community, you know, that could spur one another on? Yes and no. And most times I feel no, because when it came down to it, even if it's a craft, right, it's not like we are lacking in our technical ability to execute a haircut. But values-wise, it's very important. If values don't align, then the community can feel very surface, and it exists only to impress consumers. But really, do we have that real depth of connection within that group? And not just exclusive to barbers lah, but I believe there is. I'm just not part of it, and I don't make time for it enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, of course, I don't know enough about the barber scene, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, at least for my stuff, right, I used to go at it quite alone also, right?
Yeah.
And of course, all my good friends are like ex-tech folk, you know, and they're all in corporate and things like
Yeah.
that. So sometimes when I do things and when I try to explain my problems to them, they cannot advise me. So I feel like that's where the internet has just helped me a lot, right? I find my communities are like online. And they've just been such a great help in that sense. And I really find comfort in that also. And that has helped me a little bit also. And I find when I have that push or that motivation or that support, right, it really does help me
it's like,
a
you
little bit.
understand me.
Yes. Whereas sometimes it's just tough to explain it to but again, everyone has different values and all that lah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite helpful for me. That's why I thought to ask
if we had that. I mean, you're not wrong. I think so locally, I may not have that. I thought you meant whether I had a community locally. But yes, you have to find people that resonates with you and vice versa. And I do seek out support every now and then. Some have been helpful, some were not. And then you select. You know, not every advice is
correct.
Is useful, right? And then when the people that give you valuable advice, then we go a bit further. We strengthen that relationship. And so I think that's actually the joy of doing this, is that, like I said, you know, even with customers, we don't just exist on our own. We need to depend on one another to go a bit further. And I think that's really the joy of it. It's the multifaceted relationship that we get to build.
Yeah, actually the next question is like, I think through your work as a barber, have you ever felt that deep sense of fulfillment and purpose?
Yes. Not every day, but some days when you meet a certain profile of people with you in the type of conversations, and these are things that you cannot predict. You're not gonna come in and go like, oh, what's Jamie gonna tell me today? I get surprised all the time, whether pleasantly or unpleasantly. I get surprised, and some days I'm like, and then sometimes you don't know how to answer, you quiet lah. But yes, I do. I think that this craft that I have learned to hone, has somewhat evolved into a certain degree of therapy for my clients, and again, not that I intentionally conduct therapy, but the environment in itself is therapeutic for the client. And so when people have their guard down, they are more at ease to talk to you. And them talking to me has no benefit to me. They're doing themselves a favor by acknowledging whatever that they're going through. And it's more like their own echo chamber. They needed to hear themselves. And that's why I think it is fulfilling for me. And we do everything that we can to make sure we don't compromise that. And that's why by we I meant me, I have been quite hesitant to increase the number of chairs in the studio, because we will compromise the very essence of what people enjoy, whether or not they realize that's what they like. The minute I start to increase my chairs, maybe I might get a different profile of clients. The people who enjoy that solo chair experience may not come back, because they just enjoy the quietness, the privacy that they get. Yeah, so we are quite generous with our space, I think. And from a business perspective, I don't think it's right. But again, if it's only going to make business sense, then I don't think that's what I exist for. So how do I compensate in other ways? I have to learn to navigate that. And so moments like this where I feel like clients walk out feeling slightly lighter than when they walk in. Not literally. Everyone walks out lighter.
Yes.
But mentally lighter, maybe, emotionally lighter. I think that's very rewarding for me. So if we talk about purpose and fulfillment, I think that's one form that it comes for what I do.
Yeah. And I agree. Every time I go, I feel like it's actually it's the same for me when I go to the gym also. My personal trainer and you are my therapist, because you know what else do you do there?
Uncertified therapist.
No, but it's true what you mentioned about we as people needing to hear our own thoughts.
Yeah,
I think we don't do it often at home enough. Even it's different. Even if I journal and all that, sometimes you need to say it out loud for you to register. Yeah, and I end up doing that when I'm with you or my gym trainer.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's relational. I mean, it's sometimes I think we complicate things too much. We make things very fancy, and then we forget the very essence of human connection, and that's all we're doing. Today my expression is in haircuts. I could be doing something else another time, but the essence of it is that we're meant to connect with each other in a deeper way, and not just transactional. You're here for a haircut, pay up and bye. I don't care how you do with your life.
I guess with you running your own business, right? Did you do you have a moment you recall that you faced self-doubt or fear of failure, and basically how did you kind of push through it? Because you said, as a solo person, a solopreneur, it's tough because there's no one around you, and you were not really kind of in touch with the community also, right? So how do you push yourself through it? Where did you find that grit, that mindset to
Do I? I don't. It's funny how you kept mentioning the word grit. I'm like, do I have that? Sometimes I really don't think I have it. Why
do you feel you don't have grit?
Because all the time I feel like I'm giving up. Every day my mood is just maybe on the outside it doesn't look like it. But you see, that's the scary part, right? People don't see it. Maybe you saw grit, you saw many other positive things, but all I see is I'm giving up every day. Or rather, I feel like I'm giving up every day. So self-doubt all the time. So I think that's my inner voice telling me I cannot do it. And so you see, we've earlier touched that we've done this for what, 6-7 years. I've been doing this for 6-7 years. So it seems like a long time, and it can sometimes get very monotonous in its in the process, right? I'm just cutting hair day in and day out. And so I find myself asking is there any way I can challenge myself to grow, and how can I do that? Does that mean I have to scale the business to push myself? Do I express it in different ways? And for sure, self-doubt is every day, you know, especially when you're trying to explore something that you are new to. And so recently I'm trying to get into photography, right? And then what do? You're like, oh, there's so many great photographers out there. Why do I need to do this, right? But then you see, the thing is, I realized that yes, sure, there are a lot out there, but no one sees things through the way I see things, you know? It's my perspective, and maybe I would have a story to tell. And so when I begin to realize the value that I could potentially bring, not in a narcissistic way, I think it becomes fun again. You know, I think the bottom line here is, am I having fun? Am I doing this for myself first, right? And then only if people appreciate it, you will draw that crowd. And I think that's how I've been doing haircuts as well. Not everyone's going to like it, and I need to acknowledge that. Not everyone's going to enjoy the educational approach that we have or the relational approach. But that's okay. I don't have to win everyone over. So all the time, self-doubt. Even right now, maybe I shouldn't even go on Jamie's podcast. Self-doubt. Rejected you subtly. Like, Jamie, I'm not sure. You know, self-doubt all the time. I think maybe as women, we may feel that even more. We're a lot more emotional maybe, and so in touch with our feelings. Yeah, all the time. And how do I overcome that? Is that a question? I don't know, man. I cannot stress more that I just try not to let it fester. And I used to beat myself up very hard about it. Like, yeah, you can't lah. And then what? It becomes a vicious cycle and gets worse and worse to the point it's very crippling. And I think I've had that. So I've been trying to start teaching officially, right? Haircutting. And I think I've said this to my clients and to everyone around me. They're like, hey, enough talking lah. When are you going to start?
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I get feedback like that, although it's not meant to be negative towards me, I start to feel very awful about myself again. I'm like, yeah, I've been telling everyone I want to start this thing, and I still haven't gotten started. So what is it about me that I couldn't? Self-doubt. Because I just go like, I don't have anything valuable to bring to people, and so how can I charge people for it, right? And so that is the very limiting thing, and so that's why I have been stuck. But you see, everything is all mindset and perspective, isn't it? Yeah. If I can challenge my thought to go like, it's okay, I have something valuable to bring, just as the way I see photography, maybe that's the way it would be with teaching hair as well, you know? I have something valuable, and I just need to recognize what that is. I think maybe that's the tough part. It's recognizing what value you bring to people. Yeah. So I think until and unless we find that, the self-doubt may continue to grow. Yeah.
So I heard this quote from probably this YouTuber, right? Or he heard this quote from some other guy. But the quote says like, what seems very normal to you, or what seems easy or obvious to you may not be obvious to others. And it is very true. Like when I share all my knowledge on YouTube and whatnot, right? People are like, oh my God, I never thought of this. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, it like makes so much sense now, you know? I think there are people out there who just don't know that. So usually I tell myself, don't worry too much about, I don't have value to bring, because I really think I think like you're the best at hair.
Oh, you're so sweet.
No, I mean, really, really, like, you know, when I look at the amount of thought and care you put into like the haircuts and stuff, and obviously like sometimes I look at your social media and you're like teaching people how to do this and that, and honestly I don't understand sometimes, I'm like, wow, Chubbs knows her stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And of course, when I experience it for myself, when I'm sitting in the chair, it's like, you know, I love it, and I go out again. I go out lighter and happy every single time. So I think don't worry so much about. Yeah, I will be your cheerleader.
I know.
You
If
really,
ever I feel self-doubt, Jamie, today is one of those days.
yeah,
I need positive reaffirmation. Come on.
yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, sometimes what I do is I will screenshot some comments that are nice. I have a folder called Warm Fuzzies.
So cute.
When I feel like shit, I will go and look through the folder. And I'm like,
That's good.
you know, I do all this amazing kind of stuff, and I'm sure people leave very good reviews for Telja and all
They
that.
do. They're so
also.
generous with their words, you know.
Yeah, so
Super
through it.
kind. I know. That's the thing. I should do that, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing also. You go like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't. It's so narcissistic to keep reading good stuff about yourself. We're just so bad to ourselves. Yeah, I should learn that. It's just a bit of a balance.
Yeah.
Funny how, you know, one bad, review or remark can really tear us down. Like, why do we do that to ourselves, you know?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
100 great reviews and then one like
And then one, yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Like
We go downhill from there.
yeah.
So not worth it.
But again, we are our hardest critics.
Yeah,
Right?
our own
So we
worst
need to be our
critics.
biggest cheerleaders.
I know.
also.
I know. I've got you.
Almost getting to the final questions.
Mm-hmm.
How has your experience as a barber and entrepreneur transformed you personally?
Oh, that's deep. I think going back to what we've first discussed about, you know, I want to be proud of the person in my latter years, you know, to be of good character, knowing that I hadn't compromised to achieve certain success. And I think this journey is that process, and I'm still walking in it. It's changed me maybe even now in ways that I don't see. And, you know, hearing from friends, I think you will only be able to really know it when you meet people who used to be in your circle and then maybe are not always there, and then they can see that drastic difference. So to be honest, I'm not very aware of how I've really changed, but I would like to think that I've grown more resilient over the years. I become less bothered about a lot of things. I no longer care too much. I used to care too much, and that is actually not a good thing. Knowing what not to care about and knowing that not caring doesn't mean you're a bad person. Knowing your boundary, I think that's a thing that we so many of us are learning. I think that's the biggest thing that COVID has taught me. You've had so much time to yourself, you know. COVID wiped out so many of my clients for the reasons that people had different booking behaviors, where their need for haircuts are different. And of course, as a business owner, you get shaken. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sustain this? And then I overcompensate by working extra hard, like never before. I think that 2 years I worked till my wrist almost broke, literally. Had like this carpal tunnel syndrome thing and backache. Then I started not talking to my clients. You would have noticed that some of you may have. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I didn't want to talk a lot. I was quite quiet. That's because I'm so tired. I had no energy. I literally felt I had no breath to talk. And we had to wear the mask and all
Correct.
that. And so I think it was very easy to hide behind that mask because no one could really see my expression. So yeah, I worked like a horse, and then I realized this was not sustainable. But it was through that I also learned that this is not what I want. And why did I care so much for revenue? Because I was so shaken, right? Like I allowed that one fear dictate all of my actions after that. And I was completely unaware until my wrist started to hurt very bad. And I was like, hey, this cannot go on. This is my bread and butter, you know?
Yeah.
No more wrist means no more haircuts, means no more customers, means no more money. Then what do? And I've realized that I placed all of my identity into being a barber. That if I had lost that, I was nothing. So that was a very rude awakening, actually, that made me start to question again. And so I think in that process, it's made me realize what to place emphasis on and what not to. And so I say, I'd say from that COVID period till now, I have developed a more balanced lifestyle, you know, and I think life is really about balance. You could make all that money, you could have a lot of self-care, but too much self-care it's not good for you. I mean, like, how much self-care do we really need? And I think, you know, as I really reflected upon self-care, I realized that my need for self-care can be very extreme, especially when I reach the tipping point of burnout. You feel like you're burning out and you're like, oh my gosh, I must not get there. It's like red alert, right? And then you make very extreme decisions like, maybe I shouldn't even be a barber anymore. I need to go, you know, live on a mountain for like 1 year, you know, and then give up everything. Then you make very irrational decisions.
Right.
So I think what I've learned is that when I hit those moments, I learn to take a step back first, take self-care, like, you know, in healthy portions, in small portions. Then when you are feeling a bit better, then you make another decision instead of throwing the towel in and just go like, this is it, enough, you know. And then I feel that I have those moments where I almost did that, and it might not necessarily be right. It's not wise lah. So yeah, I think you know, coming to that, I would like to think it's made me learn what balance look like for me, not necessarily how my friends would balance it, but I know what balance means to me. And to be unashamed about it. I think it's okay. So yes, hopefully, you know, in this journey I would you know, grow to learn more about myself, and you grow increasingly more confident about what you need to do, and be unapologetic about it, I suppose.
I think that changed for you, and I mean, you spoke about the balancing revenue versus, you know, doing what you want to do and being proud person. I think once you define success, what success means to you in your own eyes, right, then I think you know how to navigate through what you need to do and all that. And I think I can feel like when you said, you know, those years you were burnt out, I mean, I was also like worried. I was like,
you sense it?
I can sense lah, but I just like, I don't want to pry also, right? And I remember there was a point how you were just shaking your wrist all the time.
Just checking, is it working?
And by the way, like Chubbs says, it's very cool move. Like, flick her scissors. If I'm B-roll.
You dreamt about it. You told me. You're so random. Like, Chubbs, I dreamt of you flicking your scissors in a really cool manner. Anyway, I just thought to tell you. Okay, bye.
Because it's very cool. I read it in the mirror. Like, I'm sitting in a chair. It's like, wow.
See, that's the thing.
Especially in slow-mo.
To all barbers out there, people are watching you, okay? You're cutting hair and that's your view, the head. But they're watching you in the mirror. Like, I didn't thought flipping the scissors was cool until they pointed out.
It's very cool.
They're watching.
I feel every time you travel, you come alive. You know, I feel like, and I see it through your Instagram, your snaps and stuff like that, you know. So I'm very glad you found photography actually. And I think that realization of you not putting your whole not self-worth, but your whole identity as like a barber is interesting, because I see that parallel with a lot of people at work, right? Work is their identity, that sort of thing. Like, it happened to me also, and I'm just like, I didn't get that promotion and I just felt completely shit. And I think that's when I had like the quarter life crisis, that sort of thing. And absolutely, like whatever you said about balance, like it's just, I just spoke about it in my last video.
Oh, good.
It's like, this is why I love Star Wars. It's all about the force, about balance between the light and the dark side.
Sorry, I don't watch movies. I'm so bad at this. But yes, all about the balance, the force.
It really is about balance and like your different life pillars, right? If you lose your health, everything else will crumble. If you lose like
family.
Exactly. So it's good to know you have found that balance lah. For you.
Travel. Go travel, yes. Everyone. Go travel. Don't feel bad. See, that's the other thing, right? Like, you it's your hard-earned money. You go like, you shouldn't just spend it frivolously on travel. But those things really do make me happy, and I'm starting to see that. And see, that's the mindset that I've got to break, because the way I look at it, it's don't do it. It's a luxury. Because why did I have that perception? Maybe because my family thinks it's a luxury. I'm like, hey, don't waste money. Save for your future. But this is investing into my future. You know, what's better? Is it savings or investing? Savings remains as savings. Investment compounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's, I mean, it's funny you were talking about this. I think this is my moment of realizing it now. Maybe I should just be unashamed about it, you know, and do it wisely.
Yeah, because you tell people and I'm traveling, that kind of thing. It's so easy to book through your website and all that, right? And like I appreciate you always tell us like, hey, I'm traveling now, you know.
Please come in
yes,
before.
Yes. I tell you that time where I was the most grateful to you was before the whole COVID lockdown. Like, Amy, come in now. We need to close tomorrow.
I have a selected group of customers where I know, they just cannot afford. And I'm sorry to everyone else hearing it, but some people have lower tolerance than you, and they really do need that last appointment. So I'm gonna give them the privilege of coming in. Priority, yes.
But no, I'm thankful for that. But I mean, it's this kind of thing that you do that it's the experience again, right? Like I feel loved.
Yeah. You see, we will only know that through meaningful engagement, right? Like, otherwise I wouldn't have known that would have, it would have really made you really uncomfortable for the whole period of the lockdown. Was it 6 weeks or something?
6 weeks.
6 weeks, right?
Yeah. That's already longer than
your average.
Yes.
On top of the fact that you were already 1 month, and so that's even more. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I cannot.
Yeah.
But so
Good.
thank you for that. That really made my
No worries. Welcome. Very
month and a half. Okay, I'm gonna do something now. Something fun-ish. Fun-ish. But okay.
I see.
So
something.
I'm gonna bring the Jenga blocks over, and I do not want to make the camera go crazy. So let me scoot
Autofocus
over.
crazies. What do we do with this?
Come, Chewy. Okay. So,
You are so cool, Jamie.
no, I wanted to make it like fun, right? On there are 54 pieces of Jenga blocks on this Jenga tile thingy. I thought of a cool name for it. What was it? I think I was like, this is the Depth Quest Jenga style, something like that. So basically, there are 54 blocks, right? Every block, there's a number corresponding to it. And pick a block, and that number corresponds to a question I have prepared. So I have 54 questions
that's so
here.
Fun.
So I thought we'd just do something fun and random and
Okay. Do I go for it?
still another middle one.
20.
20. Okay. Okay. I mean, this is kind of relevant to what we spoke about.
Okay.
How do you handle moments of self-criticism or feelings of inadequacy, and what strategies do you use to cultivate self-compassion?
Go and talk to people who affirm you, people who love you, like people who genuinely care for you. You in those moments you really need to be a bit buay paise, unashamed. Just go to people who will positively reaffirm you, and we all have those friends. Sometimes we're just ashamed to approach. It's almost like receiving compliments. We don't know how to receive compliments.
Yes.
So I have found that I need to do that. And so I do go to people who I know are generally a good ball of energy. And when you're surrounded by people like that, it's a bit hard to feel down, at least for that moment. And then to know that they understand you and to be heard. And so in this case, it's the opposite. I'm attending therapy. So I may be doing that for people. And sometimes subconsciously you carry on those stuff because sometimes you relate to some of those stories and then you don't dissociate. So you need to find people who can provide you that space to listen. And so I think that's how I deal with criticism. Is that what you said?
Yes, criticism or feelings of like inadequacy.
Yeah, I think it's that. And then people to remind you how far you've come. And sometimes you need to be very specific with how you ask those questions because people don't really know what you're going through and they may not reaffirm you in a way that is applicable to that time. So sometimes you need to tell them what you need to be honest with yourself, and I am quite honest with myself, I hope, with my friends, and then they'll help me to, bring up the past and the progress. And that's really helpful because we fail to recognize any of our progress in times like this. Yeah, that's how I do it. Friends. Get more friends. I mean, no need more friends. I don't have a lot of friends. You just need that one or two that genuinely cares, and I think every friend plays a different role. Not everyone needs to come in a certain form or size or the way they speak, but just know who to go to for whatever needs you have, and it's okay, you don't need that one friend that does it all.
Correct.
It's fine.
I agree.
Yeah, it's fine.
Come to me for cheerleading and entrepreneurship.
I'm like, yes.
Okay, last 2 questions. What advice would you give to someone who is hesitant to take the leap and start their own businesses or chase their dreams?
Let me think of something no one has ever said before. I was going to just say, just do it. But seriously, just do it. If you thought about it long enough and it's constantly recurring on your mind, it's not a bad thing to leave something. It doesn't mean that you've done the company a disfavor. You're probably doing the company a favor by letting someone else take that role, because maybe your commitment is starting to dip, and it doesn't mean that you haven't done a good job, but it's okay to enter a new chapter or write a new book, right? They say. Just do it. Because, okay, let me backtrack a bit. Just do it if you're thinking a lot about it, but also because you've questioned why you want it so bad. If you haven't, then I think it's time to start thinking. And it's okay to give yourself that time while hating what you do, because no one's story is going to be exactly the same, like hearing something like this may not be the wisest advice also, you take and pick, you pick and choose what is most applicable to you. And but at the end of the day, if you've thought of everything already, you've weighed every circumstance, then just do it, Even if it doesn't succeed, at the very least, you tried. And I think that has so much more value than not trying. It's being able to say, I've given it my best shot. It's okay if I didn't succeed. You know what? Most often than not, people don't succeed. They succeed. But taking that leap is hard.
Yes.
Yeah. Find your healthy circle of friends that will propel you forward. That's my advice. Don't do it alone. You can't do it alone. Yeah.
Yeah. It took me 4 years to do this.
Yeah.
Like, take the leap.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to take that leap? And you went for you said you went for a sabbatical apprenticeship thingy, right?
So I think when we talked about me starting to question, and I was 21, but I really only started Telja in 2016. So that's a good 5 years. It's not 5 years of straight questioning, but that thought started, right? And then you constantly, and then then I continue to work for people. Yeah, so then the sabbatical allowed me to explore a new skill, which is haircutting. And then even between that, acquiring that skill and actually starting my own business and contemplating if I should work for someone or run my own thing, that took another maybe 1.5 years. But I don't think that timeline really matters. This information is not crucial. What is crucial is that you must know what you're trying to achieve out of this and in what form it should come. So in my case, I did not work for someone and went straight out to do my thing because I hadn't known of anyone who would approach haircuts the way I had wanted to. And so I thought, it's okay, I'll build my own brand. And uniqueness at that point, and that no one was doing it, can seem like the wrong thing. And I think that goes back to what we spoke about. That's the very value that I bring that no one else is bringing. It's a if you know thing, and I think businesses like that, it's a very interesting space to navigate the if you know, hard to scale, but if you know, You know, it's like if you know this is good, you know, like don't have like no words needed. Come and experience it for yourself. Yeah.
I love it. So, to all our listeners, right? If they want to know more, where and how can they find you?
You can find us online. You can book. We only take on online appointments. TeljaStudios.com. Drop us a DM on Instagram. You can check out all of our work there. Give you a good idea of what we do. That's it. We don't really welcome walk-ins, but if you do walk in, there sometimes might be a chance that you can't get. So best to book online.
Cool. Thank you.
You're
Chubbs.
welcome.
If y'all book online, just don't take my slot, eh? But
You always have a slot. We'll save you one. We've talked about this before.
yes. Okay, I wrote a very nice ending thing. So I really wanted to share that. I really feel the word is like incredible, and I have incredible and phenomenal every time I've had a haircut. You know, I tell you, I really like
Good.
And like just from the start, the experience has been phenomenal.
Very good.
And I really appreciate that so much from you. And I just feel the amount of care and thought that goes into my haircut. It's so good. It's like unrivaled anywhere ever. And I'm very fussy, so I know
happy.
that.
I'm so happy.
And yeah, you know, I feel like I've seen you grown so much from the start to the end. Like even like the booking system, the punctuality of the cuts. Now it's like
We've tried
there.
to make that work. We've had bad times before.
But it's like, you know, it's
We're
there
trying,
now,
yeah, it's
right?
there, yeah.
So obviously I can see the improvement just even as a customer. So
Thank you.
it's really good. So everyone should go and experience it if you want a good haircut.
I always
recommend.
say, right, I have high quality clients. You guys, like you guys are so gracious, and we reap what we sow, right? Like if I sow graciousness, and then likewise my clients will be gracious towards me. And I think I've seen that, and I really cannot be more proud that I have very good clients. And I don't think people think about that. People think about making a lot of money, but they don't think about the quality of clients that they're retaining. And I am grateful every time I think about it. I've only recently started to think about it, but I'm grateful.
I think you should be very proud. I mean, like, you know,
high quality clients, man.
High quality. Huh?
Yes, high quality.
But I think, yeah, I'm just very inspired by your story, and I'm just very proud and privileged to get my hair cut by you. To see you grow and thrive as a barber in Singapore, and like just to call you my friend. So
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing, you know, like, I think just the spirit of like generosity you have, like sharing, like taking the time to like come down and have this chat, to always like accommodating, you know, when we have haircuts and things
this
like that.
This is long
also.
overdue. I owe it to you. I almost feel like, let's make it work. Let's not push this any further. 4 years later, we're doing this.
Ever since we had that, where do we
Starter
eat?
lab.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm hungry. But yeah, thank you for being so like open, vulnerable, and just authentic.
Yeah.
It's
You're
great
welcome.
lah.
Yeah, it's great to share this story with you. I think no better person to talk about this. Someone who cares so much about well-being, productivity, and this, I think, all encompasses it. And so glad to discuss this with you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for interviewing. Thanks for chatting.
Yay!
Yay!
See you on the next episode. I don't know where to look at, but
Yeah.
go to Telja Studios for a good haircut.
Awesome.
Just not my slot.
Just don't take your slot. Clap, clap.
Okay, we're done.
We did it.
Okay, let me